Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really big topic for modern business. How do you hire the absolute best person for the job when they live on the other side of the planet? Well, there's a solution, and it's called an employer of record, or EOR for short.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with the challenge of hiring globally. Then we'll meet the employer of record, talk about why you'd use one, check out the playbook, and finally, see how it stacks up against the rest. Let's jump in. So let's picture this, because it's happening all the time now. You've gone through this whole long hiring process, and you find them, the perfect person for the role. I mean, just an absolute rock star. But there's a catch. They live in a totally different country.
Okay, so you found your dream hire. Awesome. But what now? This brings us to our first section, the global hiring challenge. And trust me, the problem with borders is a big one.
You know, the hard reality is that hiring someone in another country is like navigating a legal minefield. All of a sudden, you're slammed with a whole new world of labor laws, tax codes, and different benefit expectations. The old school way to do this? You'd have to set up your own legal entity in that country. We're talking months of work and a ton of money, basically stopping your growth dead in its tracks. But what if there was a way to just sidestep all that mess? Well, there is. Let's move on to Section 2 and meet your new partner in global hiring, the employer of record. So what exactly is an EOR? Well, put simply, it's a third-party company that acts as the legal employer for your international staff. They take on all the tricky HR stuff. We're talking payroll, taxes, benefits, compliance, the whole shebang. So you can get back to what you're good at, actually managing your team and building your business. And the best part? The process is incredibly straightforward. Look, you still find the talent, you still manage their day-to-day work, that core relationship is all yours. But once you decide to hire them, the EOR just takes over. They use their own local legal setup to handle all the back-end stuff, from making sure the contract is legit to running payroll. Here's a really helpful way to think about it. Imagine the EOR is the landlord of an apartment building. They own the building, they maintain it, they make sure it's up to code, that the plumbing works, all that complex structural stuff. You just manage the awesome work that's happening inside your apartment. So what does that actually cover? Well, it's all this critical behind-the-scenes work. The EOR makes sure your employee gets paid on time in their own currency. They make sure all the right taxes are filed. They handle the employment contracts to make sure everything is 100% compliant with local laws. It's basically total peace of mind in a box. Okay, so we get what an EOR does, but why should your business actually use one? Let's talk about the real-world benefits. And the benefits are, frankly, huge. You can get that amazing new hire started in a matter of days, not months. You completely sidestep the massive costs and the legal headaches of setting up shop in another country. And you free up your own HR team to focus on the big picture, not get bogged down in administrative weeds. I mean, just look at the difference here. The old way is slow, super expensive, and honestly pretty risky from a legal standpoint. The EOR way? It's fast, it's compliant, and it's way more cost-effective. You're basically swapping a giant administrative nightmare for a simple, elegant solution. All right, the value proposition is pretty clear, right? So now let's get practical. When is the perfect time to bring in an EOR? And what should you look for in a partner? Time for the playbook. An EOR is just so incredibly versatile. It's perfect if you want to dip your toes into a new market without the huge financial commitment of setting up an entity. It's also the go-to solution for hiring remote workers from anywhere in the world compliantly. Or say you want to convert a great contractor to a full-time employee, an EOR helps you do that without tripping over any misclassification wires. Now, when you're shopping around for an EOR partner, there are a few non-negotiables you need to look for. First, do they have their own legal entities in the countries you care about? That's a big one. You also want to check out their compliance expertise, see how good their tech platform is, and make sure their pricing is totally transparent. No hidden fees. Okay, the world of global employment is full of acronyms that sound kind of the same, right? So for our final section, let's clear up the confusion and see exactly how an EOR is different from the rest.
This is probably the biggest mix-up, EOR versus PEO. Here's the absolute key difference. With an EOR, the EOR is the legal employer of your team member. But with a PEO, you are still the legal employer. This means for a PEO, you still need to have your own legal entity in that country. So think of it this way. EOR is for global hiring where you don't have an entity, and a PEO is typically for domestic help where you do.
And what about a staffing agency? How's that different? Well, a staffing agency is basically a talent supplier. They find people for you, usually for temporary or project-based gigs. An EOR, on the other hand, doesn't find the talent. It's for the permanent, long-term team members that you've already found and decided you want to bring on board.
And really, it all boils down to this one powerful idea. As Roshan Mayanglambam from Remunanc puts it, these services have changed the game. Global hiring is just simpler now. It's about finding the absolute best talent, period, no matter where on the map they happen to live.
So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Now that these old school barriers to hiring around the world are basically gone, what does that actually mean for your team? Who is that one game-changing person waiting out there right now that you could finally bring on board?